So once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olatunde Michael, the team leader of Omega Bio-Edutainment. This is in furtherance of our educational series on the microbial interaction, human microbe interaction, a kind of a must, it's kind of what must be, which has to do with it must be seen from the perspective of being an ecological system. Then another thing is that we were able to look at human microbe interaction. We look at it as from the ecological point of view. So thereafter, we also examine the ecological characteristics of a human microbiome interaction, where we actually look at the diversity and colonization, whereby I told us then that wherever you find any microorganism on human body, will actually tell you that they are the colonizer of that area, and that will go a long way to actually give us the perspective or the thinking that, for example, if you find certain microorganism on the surface of the skin, that is on the skin, you will discover, you will know certainly that it must be able to tolerate certain level of pH, which could be acidic, it could be also basic, which is very, very unstable. Then you also have to know that the oxygen tolerating level of such microorganism will actually be tending towards it being an aerobic oxygen tolerant. Okay, and that the temperature as well as moisture is also something, a condition that also has to be taken into consideration. Then we also look at the niche specialization, whereby we also said that wherever you see an organism, particular environment. We also look at example of Helicobacter pylori, which is the normal inhabitant of the intestines, small intestine, that is the stomach acidic content. So that is, and we also look at the third, which has to do with examining cooperation and competitiveness in terms of the interaction between microorganism and his human host, whereby we actually look at the case of production of certain vitamins like vitamin B and vitamin K, that a microorganism in the gut has been able to help in breaking down or digesting this kind of vitamin. So just like as we have outlined yesterday in the earlier video of lecture 039, I have highlighted all this, and I have actually told you that we are going to continue in looking at human microbe interaction. We want to look at the key roles. The key roles, that's human microbe interactions. We want to look at the key role they play in the in human health. That is, what role do they play whenever it comes to this? So, and I told us that in each case of a human microbe interaction, examining the roles played by each of these will actually tend to be giving us different types of a case study. So the first thing we are going to look at the role performed by microorganisms in determining the immune system, or in contributing to immune system modulation. So the first one we are going to look at today is that microorganism as immune system modulators. So we want to look at their role in modulating the immune system. don't forget that the human immune system is very, very complex because it has contained different types of cells and tissues coming together to actually make and protect human from the hazard by pathogen. And that is the reason why that we want to know that we want to examine that microorganisms play very crucial role in doing that. Now, we have seen, don't forget, we have immune system is divided into innate and adaptive. Okay, so looking at innate and adaptive, we have actually told us that we have B cells that has to do with plasma. Then we also have T cells. Okay, that is T lymphocyte, and this one can be further divided into CD4, that is and CD8. We have this one is called cytotoxic. Okay, and this one is called T helper. This one has the power. This one has the power to directly deal with the pathogen, whereas this one will actually need the help of some other part of this. Now we have seen the role played by, so the B cells is when you now have production of antibodies. So, and this one, we have discovered that some microorganisms play very crucial role. They play a very crucial role because they help in activation. They help in activation of C cell. They help in activation of T cells. Okay, T cells. So there are certain microorganisms that actually play that role. Then some of them also play, they also play very vital role. Don't forget that in antibody production, there are some that we, part of it will be used for what is called clonal expansion, that is going to produce different types of antibodies. It's going to be, we have antigen A, antigen G, antigen M, antigen D, and E. That is different types of antigen, or the short form for antibody or immunoglobulin is called IgG. So that is why we say there are different types, and each of these will now be recruited depending on the type of the pathogen or antigen that is being involved. We know that so this one will be used, all this will be used, will be produced during what is called clonal expansion. Okay, this one will be produced. Then the second thing that will be produced for antibody production is that some of these cells will now be used to produce what is called memory cells, so that the cell will now be able to store in its memory. It's going to store in its memory some the let me say all the information that has to do with the pathogen or the antigen that is being responded to. Okay, now we have also seen, just like I said, we have seen that microorganisms play a very crucial role in activating the T arms of cell as well as the B cell. So that means they are very, very important in adaptive. They play very crucial role. They play crucial role in adaptive immune response. Okay, so that is the first thing that you need to know. So they play very crucial role in modulating the immune system. Then apart from that, they also play crucial role in training. They also train in training of the um, B cells. They are B cell modulators. Okay, they help in training the memory cell so that by the time they actually come, they will be able to remember quickly, and that's why the response is going to be more precise and much more specific than it used to be in innate immunity. Then you should not forget the capability of pathogens, or let me say microorganisms, training the immune system on what to do. It's just like when you now have you keep somebody that is giving you an information. You keep somebody that's giving you an information. You give the person shelter. You clothe the person. You are responsible for a lot of things. Don't forget that we said the microorganisms that are involved, and they are getting themselves interacting continually with with human. We have them that they will now serve as they will serve as spies. They can serve as spies for prevention of pathogen, especially in training the adaptive immune arm of the immune system, in training them to be able to respond appropriately and specifically to certain this. So it's just like when you now have former armed robbers that actually know the details of how robbery operation is being now taken or is being organized. So you now recruit that person to be a spy, so that you be able to arrest and be able to overpower criminal. So the same thing that a microorganism do in certain environment, because they will be the eye, they will be the spy, they will be the one that will train the immune system, so that whenever the immune system now sees this, they will be able to recognize that that is exactly what is going on. So don't forget that I said the role that they play, the role played, the role played by microorganism include: number one, activation of the adaptive immune system. They activate. For example, in particular, T cell, T arms of the adaptive immune system. Then the second one is that they also help in training. They help to train. They train the B cells in memory retention. Memory retention. They play that certain role, and they play it very, very effectively. Okay, so we need to know that. Then they also, so this kind of interaction, the role that they play will now help in eliminating. This one will help in eliminating. So it helps in eliminating the pathogenic organisms, or removal of pathogens or pathogenic organism from human. So it is going to help them to be able to overpower the enemy. Just imagine it, just in the same analogy I actually used for you. One of the reasons, there is an adage that will say that there's an adage that says, in order to deal with the enemy outside. Okay, one should keep an enemy within. So the same way, in fact, the role played by human microbe interaction is exactly being it is explained or captured in this statement, that in order to deal with the enemy outside, one should keep an enemy within. So the enemy within are your what? These are the microorganisms that you have them living as normal flora on the surface of your inside you or outside your body. So that is keeping the enemy within. So that enemy will now start to give you information. The first thing is that it is going to alert, it's going to activate the adaptive immune system of the cell. It's going to be the one that will first of all raise alarm whenever the body is going to be at risk, whenever the pathogen is about entering. So they will be the one to raise the alarm first. So by the time they now raise the alarm, they will not raise it alone and just go and rest. So the next thing is that they will also train the B cells. Don't forget that I said B cell will lead to clonal expansion, that is production of 5 classes of immunoglobulin, and each of them is going to respond to the type of microorganism or the type of pathogen that they have. For example, antigen immunoglobulin A will respond to parasitic infection more than any other one. Okay, so all this will determine the type of infection, the type of pathogen, or the type of antigen will depend on the type of immunoglobulin or antibody that will be produced. So after the production of this, the second arm of B cell is going to help in retaining the memory of the intruder, so that in case they have it that kind of intrusion any other time, they will be able to remember quickly that, oh, this happened to be the information or the signal of the first enemy. So apart from playing the role of activation of the adaptive immune system, that is by raising alarm, they are alarm raiser. Okay, they raise alarm whenever there's going to be this, so they will give the information. That then the second one is that they will also train. Training is that whenever you see any structure like this structure is going to be from this type of enemy. If you see any antigen like this, you should recognize this is how to deal with it. So it's also going to help in memory retention. Then at the same time, they will also begin to produce certain chemicals. They will release certain enzymes that is going to be so antagonistic to the invading pathogen. So that is another role that is being played by microorganism in human microbe relationship. Okay, so for example, the environment play a very critical role in this level in activating the immune system. Okay, the role they play is just that the more you should know, the more the challenges this is another analogy. The more the challenges, the better off you are. Okay, the more the challenges, that is, the more the enemy that you have to deal with, the more experienced you become, the more information that will be at your disposal, the more your capability, your capacity will be built very, very well to be able to take care of that. So that what we are saying in essence is that children that grow up in the rural area, because they are more exposed to a lot of diverse level of pathogen, they are better at fighting off infection. Their immune is better prepared than people that live in the cities or in the urban environment. So please, you have to remember these two. In order to be able to deal with the enemy outside, you should be able to keep an enemy within. In case you should be able to keep that. And that is going to explain the functional or the significant role that is always being played by microorganisms in the area of understanding the microbe interaction. The first one is that there are certain microorganisms that are alarm raisers. Naturally, they are alarm raisers because they will perform the role of activating the adaptive immune arm of the immune system. So by activating, alerting the T cells, the cellular immune response. So they will get them prepared. They will activate them. They will raise the alarm. Then another thing is that the second thing that they do, one of the reasons why it is good to keep an enemy within, in order to be able to take care of the enemy outside, is that the enemy within, which are the microorganisms, will also help to train your B cells. It's going to train your adaptive immune cells. It's going to train their memory. It's going to help them in retention, memory retention, to be able to remember the insults, the prior insults that you must have been exposed to. Then they also play, the third one is that they play a very critical role in eliminating the pathogenic organisms from the body, because the enemy within, who has now become a friend, will now join with you, will now collaborate with you, and by the time they collaborate with you, they will help to raise your ability to fight. So they will help you to raise the immune status. They will help to raise the immunological status of you, and you will be at a better way of fighting the enemy. So that is how they get involved in eliminating the enemy. It's because they will collaborate with you in also helping you, and that is what we say. Then another thing is that you should know that there is a school of thought that believe that children that grow up in the rural area, in villages, are better at fighting against infection than children that grow up in the urban area. And the reason is just explained in this caption, that the more your challenges, the better off you are in fighting against the enemy. The more equipped that you are, the more prepared, the more alerted that your body will actually be in fighting against it. So the fourth role, apart from being a pathogen eliminator, or apart from collaborating with the immunological apparatus of the human host, another thing is that they will now restore, after the enemy must have been severely dealt with. They will restore the immunological competence, immunological status of the system. Okay, what it means that after you must have after you must have fought against your enemy by using a lot of weapons. So the next thing is that you need you need something to clear off the debris. So the pathogen, sorry, the microorganism in your body will also help in removing the debris of the enemy. It also help you in restoring, and that's why they call them immune modulators. They tend, whenever the immunological status of the system, if it is too low, they are the one that will sound a kind of warning that please better do not sleep off. Don't sleep off. The enemy can come at any time. So thereby they will now raise the immunological status, the immunological competence of the host. They will raise it up so that at any point in time, your immune system is better off in order to be able to fight off against enemy. So that is the first role, that is immunological modulators that will be played by microorganisms as being an immune system modulators. Don't forget what we have said so far, that you need to keep in mind these two or will I call it these two school of thought, or these two general rhetorics is going to help you to be able to understand the role that that microorganism will play. The first one is that in order to be able to deal with the enemy outside, you should be able to keep an enemy within. So, and the second one is that the more the challenges you face in life, the better you are, the more experienced you become. And don't forget that when we are talking of experience, we are referring, something should be telling you that we are referring to the adaptive arm of immune system. So we have looked at their alarm raisers, their trainers in memory retention. They are also collaborators. They collaborate with the immune system of the whole in order to fight off the enemy by eliminating them. That apart from that, they also perform their role as immune modulators. That means not only that they have something to do directly with T cell, they also have a role to play in activation of cytokines. They also have a role to play in activation of certain cytokines. For example, interferon gamma and TNF alpha. These ones are very, very crucial because so, and the type of immune modulation you should know, the type of immune modulation that microorganism will play will now depend on the level of interaction between human and the microorganism. That's why we said, so that is telling us that one, if one we do not have microorganism that is being retained in our body, how are we going to fight off against all this? Our immune system cannot be enough if we are not keeping some enemies within. So please, as you have it displayed on the screen, please take notes. Take note of this, and that is what we are going to spend the rest of time in understanding. We have mentioned that as they act as immune modulators, because number one, they will raise alarm, they will activate adaptive arm of the immune system. Apart from that, they play a very crucial role in training the B cells in memory retention. We also mentioned them as helping in elimination of the pathogenic organisms from human body. Then apart from that, we also see them, consider them as the immune status restorer, because they help to restore the immunological competence of the host immune system. then lastly, we also consider them as cytokines. We also consider them as cytokines uh, activators. So cytokines like interferon gamma, cytokines like interferon TNF alpha, and some other interleukins. So these are very crucial role that they play in that. So we are going to consider the second thing under the key roles that they play in this. So the second one is going to be as so the second one, the second thing. So don't forget what I've said, that it is profitable. It is always very, very helpful to keep an enemy within in order to be able to deal with the enemy outside. So it is very, very profitable like that. Then again, you should also remember that the more the challenges you face, the better off you are in terms of dealing with the enemy. So, and that's the reason why we said that by implications, that children that grow up in the rural area are better in fighting off, or dealing with enemy than what we are. So the second type of interaction in human microorganism relationship as touching the role play in the maintaining the health system also include number two. That is their role that they play in digestion. They play very critical role in digestion and nutrient absorption. Nutrient absorption. They play very critical role in digestion as well as in absorption. So that means if not because absorption and absorption, okay. Okay. So, and our focus is going to be in helping us in digestion of complex complex compound like cellulose, okay, compound like carbohydrates. So the first thing is that they play critical role in breaking down. They play breaking down of complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates that normally that are or that seems to be indigestible. That seems to be indigestible. And we have examples of that. So then microorganism like the following: bacteroides, vermiculite. These are the group of microorganisms: vermiculite, okay, vermiculite, as well as fecally bacterium. Fecally bacterium will help in digestion of fibers, in digestion of fibers, okay, that normally that normally that normally cannot be processed, normally that cannot be processed because human has no enzymes to be able to break them down. Okay, so and apart from that, they also so they'll be able to process them into short chain. This is a short chain, um, short chain fatty acid, especially they break them down into short chain fatty acid such as butyrate, okay, acetate, um, and propionate, propionate. Okay, so this one is this. Then, apart from the third role that they play in in digestion and nutrient absorption is that they also help in synthesis of certain vitamins, synthesis of complex vitamins, of very essential vitamins, such as vitamin B and vitamin K. Okay, and you know the essence of vitamin B and vitamin K. They also help in synthesis of certain minerals which are very very essential to the human body. Okay, a case study of this is when we have a condition called irritable a condition called irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, that is a IBS condition called this. And it's as a result of irritable bowel syndrome is due this condition is due to absence of certain classes of microbes from the gut. Okay, you need to know that. So their roles in digestion and nutrients. The first one is that they help to break down complex carbohydrates. And I've given you example of that complex carbohydrates which are indigestible. So example of that is cellulose. So they help in breaking down cellulose to simpler carbohydrates that can easily be digested. So then example of microorganism that we actually use in human maintaining the human health include members of bacteroides, the firmicutes and faecalibacterium. They help in digestion of fibers that cannot be processed. They digest it into because these fibers are long chain, they are complex, so they help in breaking them down into short chain fatty acids like butyrate, acetate and propionate. And if you are very conversant with fermentation, cellular respiration as well as Krebs cycle, you will know the role that all these can play in cellular respiration. So if you now have, that means without these microorganisms, it will be very very difficult to have them as a ready made. So all these will be available as a ready-made for you, and that you might not actually need to use or expel more energy in getting there. Then another thing is that they also help in synthesis of vitamins such as vitamin B and vitamin K. Okay, and this is noticeable in a case or in a condition that is called irritable bowel syndrome, which is due to the absence of certain classes of microorganisms in the case of them maintaining health. Okay, so that is the case study under that. So the last one that we are going to consider, which is going to be the third, is going to be protection. We have partially mentioned something like this under point one: protection against pathogens. So we have just discovered that one of the major vital role that is being played by microorganisms in close association with human hosts is that they help in fighting off against certain pathogens. An example of that is what is noticed. For example, this Staphylococcus epidermis. So this microorganism will generally help in elimination of a pathogen from the body. Okay, and this one, apart from that, they will put up what is called a kind of a microbial barrier. They put up a kind of microbial barrier in the human host, and they will help in that barrier will also assist or will make this barrier is going to make some pathogens unable to summon or unable to climb. So thereby they will help in protection of this. And that is the reason why the case study in this case is the reason why we have mentioned this as a case study when we were considering that kind of association. So like Clostridium difficile. Clostridium difficile. Okay. So the these microorganisms, this species of microorganism has been known to be able to treat certain infection like through the use of what is called fecal microbiota transplantation. That is transplantation. So there are certain conditions that you can only cure that by infecting or by introducing certain microorganism. And by the time you now introduce this type of organism, you just discover that the symptoms, or it is a kind of prescription for us to be able to control that kind of infection. So that is the third role that is being played by human microorganism or microbe interaction. So their public health role, or public health responsibility that they play. So we might not be able to proceed any further anyway because of the time. So just like I said, the next one we are going to be talking about is we are going to look at the state of imbalance. That is dysbiosis and diseases. So that will be the third thing we are going to continue with. Don't forget what we have mentioned today. The first thing is that we mentioned their role, the role played by microorganisms in human microbial interaction. The first role is that they play as immune modulators. Then the second one is the role that they play in digestion and nutrient absorption. and that is exactly what we have. Then we have also highlighted the role that they play in protection against pathogen. So, and that we have actually mentioned a case study whereby this microorganism, Clostridium difficile, is can be reintroduced into the gut to fight against certain disease condition. So whenever we now introduce this, we just discover that the system will now become normalized, and the individual that is suffering from that kind of ailment or infection is restored. So we are going to stop here, as I said today, and in the next video we are going to consider dysbiosis as well as diseases. So thank you for listening.